Hi there, thanks for tuning in to another video episode on ForgottenWeapons.com. I'm Ian, and today we have a 1912 Steyr automatic pistol to take a look at. These were often referred to as a Stayr-Hahn. Hahn is German for hammer. That's to distinguish them from the 1907 Rothsteyr, which is a striker-fired pistol. So this was the new and up-to-date design, and incorporates a number of interesting features from different gun designers of the early 1900s. So the first thing that makes this a particularly unique pistol is the fact that it has a blind magazine. The magazine is integral to the frame of the gun. There is no magazine release because you can't take it out. In this respect, it's rather similar to the early Bergmann or Mauser, broom handle Mauser handguns, where the magazine's not removable. Another interesting feature, predominant feature on the Steyr, is its method of operation. The Steyr uses a rotating barrel assembly to lock. You can see the barrel turns about 45 degrees when the slide retracts. There are two sets of locking lugs cut into the barrel, one to make that rotation and the other to actually lock the barrel in place when the slide's fully forward. So, as always, to begin disassembly of the Steyr, I'm first going to check to ensure that it's unloaded, which it is. Now, the first step in actual disassembly is to remove this cross pin. This is the piece that holds the slide into the barrel. It has a little spring-loaded lever here. This is actually very similar to an early black powder revolver, where there's a cross pin holding the in that case, the cylinder in place. So we push that out, comes out entirely, and now the whole thing pretty much comes apart when we pull the slide back. There we go. We have the inside of the slide and the barrel. So you can see here, this will be the bottom of the barrel, we have one large curved lug, and this dictates the rotation. This square lug acts as a stop, so that when the barrel has rotated this full amount and been pushed backwards, this lug stops it, ends its travel. And then these two smaller lugs on the top of the barrel actually lock it into the slide, so that the slide is locked when it fires. Now, if you've taken apart a bunch of pistols, you may have noticed that something seems a little odd here, namely that the recoil spring is nowhere to be seen. That's one of the other interesting features of the 1912 Steyr. The recoil spring is housed down here, inside the frame of the gun. And what activates it, or what impinges on it, is actually this cross pin. So if you look at the spring down here, when I push on the cross pin, that moves the recoil spring. So this allows me to take off the slide and still have a captive recoil spring. Another interesting and unusual element to the Steyr is the grips. Let me take this cross pin out of the bottom, and we'll show you how the grips come in place. These are actually dovetailed directly into the frame of the gun. So, not a huge mechanical thing, but interesting. Not many other pistols use a mechanism like that for the grips. So, where most Browning-based pistols have a pin retaining the barrel to the frame, and then a front barrel bushing, the Steyr simply has these two recesses for lugs and a circular support at the front for the barrel. So the barrel sits in like this, and that is its range of travel. So you can see this lug rides in this open area, and when the barrel is fully forward or fully back, this lug stops it. And then this channel engages with this lug and controls the rotation. So this is ready to fire, and then upon firing, the barrel and slide travel this distance backwards together, and then the rear lug stops the barrel, and the slide continues backward on its under inertia. These two lugs at the top are locked into the slide. So as it first moves, those slowly rotate to unlock, and right at the same time that the barrel stops traveling, the locking lugs are completely disengaged, allowing the slide to move freely. One interesting aspect here again, another one, the slide release here on the left side of the receiver not only engages the slide stop, but if you look right here, what acts as basically a left side feed lip on the magazine is pulled down and retracted when you engage the slide stop. That, as we'll show you in just a minute, is how the magazine release works. Let's go ahead and reassemble the Steyr and take a look at a few of the elements of its operation. We'll start with our grip panels. Threaded pin at the bottom that holds these in place. Now, it takes a little bit of finesse until you get used to it to reassemble this piece. The front of the slide has two lugs here that travel in this channel, and we want to drop them in right here where they can engage into the frame. Same thing with the rear. There are two lugs at the back of the slide, and these travel in a similar channel along the side of the gun. Slide in right there. In the first bit of travel, you have to manually pull the hammer down a little bit so it doesn't press on the slide. And that'll get you forward to this point. This is where the magazine catch engages. We want to depress the magazine catch. That allows us to pull the slide the rest of the way forward. Now the last element is to replace this cross pin, which will engage the recoil spring. Slide that in, and there we go. So I mentioned that there's an issue when you have a blind magazine that only loads through the top. What do you do if you want to unload it? Of course, you have the option of manually ejecting or manually chambering and ejecting every cartridge individually, but that's not particularly safe and it's kind of clumsy. So what the designers did with the Steyr is you open up the slide and lock the slide open using the safety catch. This is very similar to a Browning. And then when you engage the slide stop, what it does is release the one little feed lip that's holding the rounds in place, and they all eject. That's a quick and easy way to empty the magazine. So the Steyr 1912 was developed in the Austro-Hungarian Empire right at the end of the golden age of early automatic pistols. Obviously, the second decade of the 1900s, a lot of the interesting designs that had already been made, people were starting to focus down on what made a real effective semi-auto pistol. So some of the neat, obscure, different ideas that may not have worked so well but are novel to us now were starting to disappear. This gun was a commercial success. There were about 250,000 of them made between 1911 and 1918. They were adopted by the Austro-Hungarian Empire, also by Romania and Chile, as well as commercial sales. In addition, the German army ordered or adopted a small quantity of these to 9mm Luger. You'll occasionally see those for sale. You can tell the date one was manufactured. They're marked Steyr and a date. This is a 1918 example. And then you'll find they all have a 4-digit serial number followed by a letter. That started out as 0001 through 9999. When they hit that point, they would go back to 1 and put in a letter prefix A. This happens to be a very late example, 7000X. So this was one of the last Steyrs manufactured. Caliber of the 1912 was 9mm Steyr. This is a 23mm long cartridge. A little bit less potent, a little bit less muzzle velocity than a 9mm Luger, but still a fairly powerful handgun cartridge for its day. This wasn't a slouch. The lockup on the 1912 is a very strong mechanism that allowed them to do this, and it also allowed the 9mm Luger conversions later on. So we will be taking this out to the range, do some shooting with it. Initial impressions, as with, I share these with most people who've handled a 1912. The grip angle is a little different than we're used to. If you hold a regular grip on it, you'll find yourself aiming way low, so take a little bit of getting used to that. But for a right-hander, which is of course the majority of military shooters, the safety and the slide release are in a nice convenient position. The trigger is not too shabby. Overall, these were a well thought of military gun. A lot of them were used in the First World War, and they were able to survive the poor conditions of trench warfare, so that right there says a lot about them. At any rate, we'll see what we think when we get one of these out to the range, so stay tuned. Thanks for watching.